Today on the Flex, we've got Friars coming in and Friars going out as Providence exchanged freshman Jyare Davis for Justin Minaya from South Carolina. And we break down the micro and macro of who the Friars are going to be bringing back to this roster next season and what it could mean.
That was a nice move by Pipkins, taking it right to the rack himself.
Wide open three, left wing, and it's good.
Nylon, the dunk likes that, Matt.
A three from the right side, and it's good! The one, Pipkins, the man, yet again. Hello and welcome to the Flex. I'm Matt St. Jean.
I'm Joe Howie.
When we started off our last episode, we talked about how Jyare Davis was transferring, but we were going to talk about the Big East in the last one. We were going to talk about Jyare Davis another time. Well, that time has come because the other shoe on that has dropped. That opened up a roster spot, and in comes Justin Minaya, the fourth-year player from South Carolina. So let's focus on who's going out here. Jyare Davis, he was a three-star guy, ranked plus 200 in the recruiting rankings, but somebody the Friars liked a lot, got a concussion, and then did not play at all this season and is off the team now. So never suited up in his Friars career. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that news?
I was neither here nor there. I was just kind of indifferent, really. We never really got to see him play. So I have no idea if we just lost a great wing or if we just lost another Greg Gant type. You know what I mean? You don't know what you lose with him leaving the roster because we simply did not see him play. Now, was there potential there? Sure. They recruited him for a reason. He's a tough, wing forward type player that could play small or play big, the type that Ed Cooley thrives under, or the type that thrives under Ed Cooley, rather. But you just don't know what you're losing here because other than high school highlights, you don't know how he is at the college level yet.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about how some of the guys leaving needed a change of scenery, and I'm guessing that's the case with Jyare Davis. And Cooley said that there were going to be changes. I think they're trying to change the culture from the inside. We have no reason to believe Jyare Davis was a problem for the culture, but there's a lot of shifting going on this year. Like you said, it's all question marks, and it seems low impact because the Friars don't know what they missed. If Jyare Davis turns around next season and becomes a star, we're going to all feel a lot differently then than we do right now. But he got that concussion pretty early on. It set back his development, and that's tough for any young athlete to go through. So I'm guessing that was a contributing factor to why we didn't see him this year, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. Not unlike some of the stuff with Greg Gant as a freshman, having to take some time away and just losing some playing time, losing some confidence, and it builds into something.
Yeah, like the Greg Gant transfer, you can see the writing on the wall with that one, especially with the response to the media that Ed Cooley had after the DePaul loss at Madison Square Garden. Greg Gant was the type of guy that, like you said, had issues freshman year, lost some confidence. And really, I think he was, and this could be an entire podcast in and of itself. I think he was the player that suffered the most from no official preseason, and preseason meaning summer workouts and September,
Yeah.
October. Because I think the coaching staff had him slated to replace Diallo in that wing forward role. And when you lose 3 months of preparation, that's a tough role to fill. And that's not on him. That's just, you can't really blame anyone. That's COVID.
Yeah,
But
that's
again,
life here.
a completely different situation because Jyare Davis just didn't play straight up. I don't know if he practiced, but we did not see him on the court.
No, and I don't even know if he was on the bench anymore by the end of the season. I think I don't think anybody is overly shocked by this, and whether or not this is it's hard to have any opinion on this at this point, but we can talk about the guy who's coming in. Justin Minaya is coming in from South Carolina. This is a guy who physically fills the same mold. Jyare Davis, 6'6", 205. Minaya, 6'6", 215. Same type of guy. Minaya led his team in rebounding last year, scored 7 points a game, and you watch the film, it reminds you of a current Friar. What was your first thought? I sent you that video earlier today.
So for context, today, what was it, around 2 p.m., Matt texts me the Minaya highlight tape, and he goes, name the Friar that he looks like. I watched the first shot of that play and I thought lefty AJ Reeves because I wound up watching another minute and a half because I didn't know if Matt was trying to get me with a trick question or something. If you watch, and we can probably link this to the Twitter and the Instagram, if you watch his highlights, he moves very similar to Reeves. They have okay. His jump shot release is a little bit different, obviously, because he's a lefty, but just an overall look and style. But he has the very similar body movements when it comes to dribble drive penetration, his jump stop, and paint play. If you watch him and you watch Reeves do all three of those things, it's like a mirror image, literally righty to lefty.
Yeah, because it's flipped. You got the southpaw. He's from your area of the country. He's from just outside New
Yeah,
York City, northern New Jersey. So I mean, he's not a local kid, but you're taking a kid from the Northeast, which the Friars have been going down south a lot lately for recruits. So coming a little bit closer to home for somebody like this, getting the transfer to come back up north. And you look at what South Carolina fans were saying. This doesn't seem to be a guy who's going to be a massive impact player, but he gives you solid depth. And we can make the comparison to Reeves. He's not nearly as good of a scorer. I think his highest
no.
scoring game last year was 15 points. He doesn't shoot the three ball particularly well. In that game where he scored 15 points, he was 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. So he's not going to be that guy who's going to light it up from the outside. But very, very good rebounder, very solid on defense. I think he complements a lot of what is already seen in this Friars lineup.
Yeah, Matt, and you and I were playing around with the depth chart today and who he kind of reminds us of. I think if you take a couple of aspects of AJ Reeves's game and Jalen Lindsey's game and fit that into like an Isaiah Jackson mold, I
Yep.
think that's what you get with Minaya. He's not going to be this, pounding score. Like he's not going to fill the stat sheets. But if Reeves needs a blow on the bench, Minaya can come in and you're not going to be sweating defensively. He's not going to blow his coverage. He's not going to let someone pull it in his face. And chances are he's probably going to hustle and get the rebound. So great, great bench piece that we're adding on here. I'm excited to watch him play in the Friars jersey. Again, I think you're going to see the defensive IQ of Jalen Lindsey in a AJ Reeves not
Body.
really scoring, body movement mold with probably the role of Isaiah Jackson off the bench.
Yeah. And I think it says a lot about the roster construction. Obviously, you lose David Duke, so you're trying to replace him. But you add a guy like Al Durham and you add a guy like Minaya, those are in the same mold as an AJ Reeves. These are your wing guard, wing forward guys that are supposed to be scorers in some way or defense. They can play 2, 3, or 4, a little bit versatile. And especially because Ed Cooley likes to play his zone or his man match defenses. When you do that, you have to have a lot of guys that are positionless. So when I see Durham and Minaya coming in, yeah, that's depth. It's also a challenge to AJ Reeves. It's saying, hey, you got to be a leader next year. You got to step it up because we're bringing in other guys that will take playing time from you or will take the starting job from you if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Minaya started 19 of the 20 games he played in last year. 21 of the 22 games he played in the year before, and as a freshman, he started 30 of 32 games for South Carolina. So, I mean, I don't know if he'll be a starter for the Friars, but he's going to push for it. He has that experience.
Let me tell you, man, with Durham and Minaya incoming, that 2-3-4 hybrid wing guard, wing forward role that Ed Cooley loves so much, that positionless role, that starting spot's up for grabs because as much as Friar fans love AJ Reeves, I think he's probably one of my favorite Friars when he's on. He's got to up his consistency. We
Too
can't be
streaky.
seeing these games. Yep, we can't be seeing streaky performances from him, or else he's going to get benched. There are guys on the roster that can take his spot this year.
Yeah. And it's like if you're looking at it from the negative point of view, that's what it is. It's a motivating tool. It's somebody to try to prod Reeves, get more out of them. The flip side of it is if it does do that. Now, if you get more out of Reeves, who's expected, he really has to be a team leader next year with no more
Yep.
Duke. I mean, he's the no more Duke, no more Nichols, no more Monroe. He's the only guy from that class who's left. So he has to
Wow.
be a leader for these guys. And now he's pushed to step up. And if he does, if he fills that role, if he lives up to the hype finally and becomes that consistent scorer that Friar fans have wanted him to be, Now Minaya is a depth piece who in the 5 minutes a game that Reeves isn't on the floor, he's going to come in, he's going to play solid defense, he's going to rebound, he's going to bang on the glass. He also is going to give you some depth behind Noah Horkler. If you want to play small ball, Minaya can play the 4 the way he can rebound. That helps you out a lot. And he's decent with the ball in his hands. He gets almost 2 assists per game. So he can help you facilitate the offense, even if he's not scoring very well. And I think ideally, if the Friars are going to be a good team next year, then he slots in best as a depth piece. He's going to a guy that's going to come off the bench in multiple positions and plug holes. Kind of like what Alpha Diallo did early in his career. Minaya is not nearly as good, but he can do some of the defensive stuff and rebounding that Diallo did. He can kind of fill a role the way a Drew Edwards or a Khalif Young did. Spot guys who can come in defensive situations and help you out.
Yeah, Matt. And while we are obviously high on him right now, every time a new piece is added to the roster, you like to look at the positives. I also think that we need to, as fans and as podcasters, be aware of the learning curve that's going to take place. Now, obviously, it's not going to be as sharp as last year's with no off-season training. This incoming team benefits from having a summer, and I can't believe I actually have to say that, but in the world that we live in and the season that we just experienced, you see how critical that is to the development of a team. These guys coming in are very fortunate because they get the summer session, right? Still, they don't play Big East games until December. So a learning curve, I think, absolutely for him. He's coming from South Carolina to Providence. That's a program jump. He has to learn Ed Cooley's system, and this is something that we saw with Lawan Pipkins, and he's kind of the
Noah
poster.
Horkler last year.
Yeah, oh, I completely forgot about Horkler. But yeah, Pipkins and Horkler are the two poster children for in-season development. And I think that's something that we really need to take into consideration when talking about Minaya, when talking about Durham, all these. Look at Goodine. He didn't even get the opportunity to have that learning curve until the last game.
Yeah, and Croswell really struggled at points this season too, and
Yeah.
seemed to be a little bit better by the end of the year. And it's worth remembering, like they're going to have more of an offseason than they did last year, but it still won't be a traditional offseason. And Lawan Pipkins struggled early on, even with the traditional offseason. The last transfer that we saw who came in and made an immediate impact, I think, is Emmett Holt. I don't think they've gotten one that's done that since then. And I don't think that's a knock on transfers. I think that's just Ed Cooley's system, and maybe you get a little bit unlucky. But let's remember, at the end of the day, it's how you're playing at the end of the season that matters a lot more than how you're playing at the beginning. So if Minaya comes in and is struggling at the start, let's not be quick to start throwing stuff at him. Sit back and realize that this is a pattern. And as long as he puts it together, by the time you come around to Big East play, things are going to be all right. He's not going to be the star, but he's a cog in this machine. It'll be a useful one. It'll help get things going. I know we do want to talk about something else here too. Talking about this in the big picture, Joe and I mean, Joe, you texted this to me earlier, so I'll let you take the lead on this. But we spent a lot of time earlier going back and forth about how much of this Friars roster is returning and what that's going to mean for next year. And we noticed a pattern over the last couple of years. Joe, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah. Just a side note before I introduce this. Today, this was during work. Matt and I both worked like 9 to 5. Well, I work like 9 to 7:30, but we work
I
day
got
jobs.
the cushy 10 to 6 job.
Ugh. We're working our day jobs, and in the middle of it, I took out a chunk of like 35 to 40 minutes just to text Matt about Providence basketball. So, but anyway,
This
so
is
I
the
I kind of
dedication
came
you
up.
get at the flex.
Yes, exactly. I kind of came up with this. There aren't real hard statistics backing this. This is kind of just top of mind information, but I call it the experience ratio. And what it does is it measures the amount of uh, the amount of teammates that played significant minutes and or every game, and compares it to the new coming teammates and or players that did not play significant minutes or every game. So we broke it down over the past 2 seasons and this incoming season. So I'll give you the rundown real quick. 2019, 2020, just a note, This ratio excludes Jimmy Nichols and Chris Monroe as redshirts. The first ratio, like I said, is returning members that had played significant minutes and or every game. Malik White, David Duke, AJ Reeves, Alpha Diallo, Nate Watson, Khalif Young, Emmett Holt. The second half of the ratio is players that are either new to the system or did not play a significant number of minutes or every game. Greg Gant, Lawan Pipkins. That ratio for that season was 7-2. We finished fourth in the conference with a record of 19-12 and 12-6 in Big East play. For 2020-2021, the first half of the ratio, David Duke, AJ Reeves, Nate Watson, Greg Gant. The second half of the ratio, Jimmy Nichols, Chris Monroe, Noah Horkler, Jared Bynum, Bryson Goodine, Alan Breed, Ed Croswell. Again, excluding Jyare Davis as a redshirt. Or you know what I mean, like a makeshift redshirt. That ratio was 4-7. We finished sixth with an overall record of 13-13 and 9-10 in conference. So immediately, in between the two seasons, it can't be stressed enough how many role players we lost. I mean, I think the preseason expectation weighed far too heavily on Duke, Reeves, and Watson being these gigantic impact players. I think the only one that actually statistically lived up to that expectation was Nate Watson. I mean, I don't think he did anything wrong this season. Maybe
Yeah.
the first half of that UConn game at home where he blew his coverage and Ed sat him with like 30 seconds into the game. Maybe that was the one blooper he has all season. But you got to
Yeah.
think like we relied way too heavily on three guys really, and Gant to
Mhm.
carry us to a top of the Big East role.
Yeah, and I took this theory and started looking into some of the data behind it. I looked into the minutes played to see what the Friars returned, and if you go back to that 2018-2019 season when they struggled, the Friars only returned 54% of their minutes played from the year before, so it's over half, but it's about half of their minutes played. The next year is the year with Lawan Pipkins where they made that run and everything came together. Obviously, it was a slow start, but that's the best Friars team in recent memory, the way they finished. They brought back 74% of their minutes from the season before. And then last season, it was just 41%. That's a massive drop off. That's significant. And if you look at the trend, now we're back up to 65% for next season. You keep
Yep.
Reeves, you keep Watson, you keep Horkler. That cohesion helps you. And looking at these trends, I mean, Ed Cooley and the Friars do better when they're able to, any college team does better when you're able to keep guys around and keep minutes and not have that massive change. If you keep David Duke around, obviously that looks better, but that's not in the conversation anymore. But you are keeping your starting point guard in Jared Bynum, your top 50 recruit who's now going into his senior year in AJ Reeves, and two fifth or Horkler now a sixth year guy. Two
Yeah.
of these guys who are veteran guys who played a lot last season. That's a lot of experience to be bringing back. Plus, you're bringing back Goodine and Croswell, who gave you those spot minutes here and there. And the guys you're bringing in as transfers, Minaya and Durham, I mean, they're veterans. These guys have played a lot, not for the Friars, but they've played a lot. They're experienced at basketball, and when it comes to team construction and cohesiveness, this is going into next year. It's a lot more similar to what the Friars did in 2019-2020 than in 2020-21. Wow, those are odd years to say like that. Um,
Oh yeah.
but it looks more like that. And obviously, this is not the only thing that matters. There's talent. But if you want a reason to be optimistic
Yep.
about the Friars next season, they have experience, and that does mean something.
Right. And I'll give you the rundown because we put this ratio together too for the 2021-2022 season. The first half of the ratio has Bynum, Breed, Reeves, Horkler, Watson, and I know there will be some controversy on this one, but Croswell. Croswell played every game. Whenever Watson was on the bench, it was Croswell in. So uh, big minutes, small minutes, he played every game. By the definition of the experience ratio that we made up
Yeah.
today, he is on that side of the ratio. On the flip side, you have Durham, Epps, Minaya, Legend Jeter, Castro, and Goodine. Um, I mean, I know guys like Durham, Minaya, and Goodine are experienced players, but this ratio is specific to the Ed Cooley system. Just like if it was Seton Hall, it would be incomers to Kevin Willard's system, or Villanova incomers to Jay Wright's system. It's specific to the system. The same thing goes the previous year with Horkler and Bynum, and the year before that with Gant and Pipkins, specifically Pipkins, who was a grad transfer type guy. So although those guys are experienced, it's their first year in the Ed Cooley system, which is why they're on the second half of the ratio. But this year's ratio, 2021-2022, is 6-6. Obviously, I don't think we're going to have a 12-man rotation. I'm sure someone or two guys will wind up redshirting this year, but that's what it looks like right now. As it stands right now, we have 12 scholarship guys, 6-6 ratio.
Yeah, and this is a team that's going to be returning 5 of its top 7 in terms of minutes played from last year. Obviously, you lose your best player and your most minutes played in David Duke. You also lose Greg Gant, who's 4th in minutes played, 4 minutes ahead of Noah Horkler. So just barely ahead of him for the total last season. But other than that, you're returning all your top guys. So you know what you have, and obviously these guys weren't good, but if you believe in development and cohesion and an extra offseason, that could mean something here. And yeah, I mean, you got to leave no stone unturned when you're trying to figure out what the Friars are going to be and what they're going to put together. And I think this is valuable information. And this is a reason to be optimistic and gets me excited about what Ed Cooley can do. And a team that is both his offensive and defensive systems are so reliant on experience and understanding the way he wants you to get it done. That extra year helps a lot of these guys. And I imagine for Horkler and for Bynum's still young and developing. That's going to help him a lot. Reeves now, I mean, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him, at least at the start of the season, and we're going to find out very quickly how he responds to that.
Yeah, and I'll start with Horkler. I think Horkler, well, obviously, I think this is a given. Nate Watson is the most important piece coming back. We saw the jump he took last season. I can't imagine the jump he's going to take into next season. He said he wants to be able to stretch the floor and work on his defensive and offensive movement. I see him turning into a Mamu Kelishvili type big man. But
if he
Horkler,
puts in the work, if he turns into a Mamu, that watch out Big East. He could be Big East Player of the Year.
You know he's going to turn into a Mamu. That kid's got the best work ethic on the team. But
hold on, is that?
I think.
Do you hear that, Joe?
What's that?
You hear that? Nate Watson plays the 2.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know if I can replace Mamu who plays the 2. If Nate starts bringing the ball up like a combo guard, then maybe we can change that. But right now, it's still Mamu who plays the 2. He's the only 6'11" guy I've ever seen in the Big East bring the ball up. But
we gotta see Nate Watson check up a 3 just once in his career. Has he done that before?
If he can hit that, he can hit that. No, he doesn't. Check it. Look at the stats. I don't think he has a single 3-point attempt. But if he can hit that 19 footer,
he has one
3-point attempt,
and it was a miss.
Okay, so I was wrong there. But he can hit that 19 footer if you just put him in the corner. He can hit it. You just change the position on the court. He hits that 19 footer from the wing.
Yeah.
Just move him in the corner and outside the line. I'll bet you he hits a 3 this season. At least one.
He took the 1 3-pointer in the neutral site win over South Carolina at Mohegan Sun back in November of 2018. That was the first game Jimmy Nichols started. It's going way back.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, Nichols had a sick putback dunk that game, and the commentator said, Jimmy Nichols, remember the name. He's only scratching the surface or something along those lines. And I was thinking, like, oh, wow, Nichols is going to be a huge piece, and now he's not here anymore.
I think they described him as having go-go gadget arms in that game as well, which was a favorite line of mine. I think I brought that out on the broadcast a couple times. I don't know who was commentating that one, but you made an impact on the Friar fans. I can tell you that much.
It was some lower level ESPN guys. It was the college, the Thanksgiving college basketball tournament week where it's just a bunch of random guys like Bill Walton. But we've strayed so far from the point. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Basically, I think.
Yeah, speaking of Bill Walton straying from the point.
Oh God. We should have him on the podcast. That would be interesting. Maybe you can eat like a lit cupcake or something like that with the candles still. Oh God. He is a character. If
Bill Walton comes on the show, I guess I'll eat a cupcake with a lit candle in it. Why not?
If you're in the mood for a good laugh or just to watch something that'll bring a smile to your face, go on YouTube after this and type in Bill Walton and just watch the highlights that come up. He has his own highlight tape of him moaning like an alien, barking like a dog, taking his shirt off. Like he is the most wacky commentator in all of college sports. I mean, I think that's hands down.
In any sport, he's one of the wackiest people. Period. You don't need any other qualifiers on that.
Yeah,
He's
but
entertaining.
reeling back to the point here, um, Watson obviously is expected to take another jump bigger than the one that he took this year, but I think Horkler and Bynum are two of the most important returners for us. Horkler, we saw the jump that he took mid-season. You know, that's in-season development at its finest right there. Went from a 7 minutes a game type guy to almost averaging a double-double, you know, in the final,
Mhm.
what was it, 7, 8 games? And he was a really important piece for us. Now that he's comfortable in Big East play, there's no learning curve. He's going to come in and he's going to pick up where he left off. Bynum
Exactly.
obviously missed out on 9 games with the groin injury, but when he's healthy, he is an important piece. He's a Chiron Cartwright type point guard that can set the table but can score if needed. You know,
Hmm.
you tie in Breed and Croswell off the bench, you have a good core returning. It's not 4 guys, it's not 3 guys with a 10-minute a game sub. It's 4 starters with 2 backups, you know? And then you bring in the other pieces. There's a lot to be excited about, but as we've known, you know, seasons don't always get off to the best start. So let's stay grounded, but there's hope. There's reason to be optimistic here.
Yeah, and we got quite a long time to break down everything that's going to happen in this off season. So make sure that you are staying with us to get all of our thoughts all off season long. We're going to have some deep dives coming to you. I think we're going to have some video content coming to you. We're going to hit all of these notes throughout the off season so that you can be the most informed college basketball fans in the Big East. So we want you to be. We want to be entertaining, but we want to make sure you know what you're talking about too. So, if you want to interact with us, if you have questions you want us to answer, be sure to tweet at us and follow us at the Flex Hoops. You can also email us at our Gmail account, theflexhoopspodcast@gmail.com, if you want to ask us a question or just make a comment or just say hi, really anything. We're friendly people. Just send us an email. We'll respond to it. Do that.
Or if
Yeah.
you want to send us money and have us rate some sort of food, we will do that too.
Yeah. We accept bribes. So,
Yes.
yeah. If you pay us money, we will probably do whatever you're asking us to do. Because we
Oh,
are
maybe not whatever.
not
Maybe not
whatever.
whatever you ask us.
It's a very loose probably on the front of that. Um, but you know what? You can always, there's always good ways to make money. We're entrepreneurs here. We're open to new opportunities. But make sure to reach out to us if you like what we're doing. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. Make sure you're following us wherever you listen to this. Make sure you're subscribed so that you make sure you're on the newest episodes right away. You can jump on our content. You want to be there when it's out. Um, yeah, and thank you for listening to us all off season long. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
As always, go Friars, and yeah, definitely. You want us to try food, we will do it. It's summer, but we will do it.
Go Friars.
Go Friars.